Hey everyone, quick question before we start. Have you ever opened Kubernetes docs, read exactly one paragraph, closed the laptop, and gone to make the tea instead? Be honest, I have done it multiple times on a single day. Here's the good news. That's not because you are bad at this. That's because almost everyone teaches Kubernetes like it's a legal document instead of a story. You don't have to go back through that pain. I already did it for you. You are welcome. And I have been fixing that one video at a time for months now. And today, I have got three things for you: where we actually are in this series, what's coming next, and one thing I need you to stop doing right after this. We are officially 60% through the entire CKA journey. The hardest part? The part where nothing makes sense and everything looks like some alien language. That part is done. Behind us. Now here's the thing. I need you to actually hear, not just nod along to. Most people wait for the perfect timing to start something. They wait for every signal to turn green before they actually pull out of the driveway. More free time, more motivation. A slightly less busy week, which statically never arrives. So don't wait for all the signals to turn green. Just start. You can figure out the yellow lights while you are already moving. Stick around because by the end of this video, you will know exactly why that matters more than it sounds like it does. Here's a confession. When I started this series, I made myself one slightly dramatic promise. I am not going to teach Kubernetes. I was going to make it feel more obvious. The way a joke feels obvious the second someone explains the punchline. And suddenly, you are annoyed you didn't get it sooner. Because once your brain understands why something exists, the commands stop being commands, they just become the thing you already knew. Type out. That's the whole trick. No magic. So here's today's update in one line. We have crossed 60% of our entire CKA journey. Think of it like building a house. Nobody gets excited watching the foundation being built. Honestly, watching cement dry is probably the most boring thing ever. But here's the thing. Skip the foundation and the beautiful house you dreamed will not stand for long. The same thing applies to Kubernetes. The basics, the core concepts, the commands, the architecture, that foundation work is done. It's strong, it's solid, and it's not going anywhere. Now comes the exciting part where we start building the features everyone wants to see. The real-world scenarios and the skills that make you a real-world Kubernetes engineer. Let's rewind for a moment because when you actually look back, it's crazy how far we have come. Remember the very first question we started with. Why did Kubernetes even came into existence? Not how do we create a pod, not what commands to run. But the bigger question, why does Kubernetes exist in the first place? Because honestly, very few people explain that part. Most people learn Kubernetes like learning to drive a car by memorizing every button on the dashboard without knowing that the main purpose of the car is to just take you from point A to point B. We went back in time. Physical servers, then virtual machines, then containers, and finally Kubernetes entered the picture. Kubernetes wasn't some random technology someone created overnight. It was the natural next step. The problems kept getting bigger and Kubernetes came in to solve those problems. Once you understand that journey, Kubernetes stops feeling like a huge mountain to climb. It starts making sense and it feels like the obvious next step. And pods were not just another Kubernetes object you had to memorize. They became pizza boxes. Everything inside the box travels together. They share the same space, same resources, and the same fate. The box reaches the destination or the whole box has a problem. Then came deployments and replica sets. A deployment is like a pizza restaurant manager. The manager makes the big decisions. New menu, new recipe, new version of the app. That's deployment's responsibility. A replica set is not the restaurant owner. Think of it as a person counting the delivery drivers. The question is simple. Do we have the exact number of delivery drivers we need right now? One driver goes home sick, replica set notices and sends a replacement. Too many drivers available. It reduces the count. It doesn't care about the menu. It doesn't decide the business strategy. It only makes sure the correct number of drivers are always available. That's the real relationship. Deployment decides and replica set maintains. And yes, the comment section made sure we got that perfectly clear. Then came namespaces. We turned them into cities. Each city has its own people, its own resources, and its own boundaries. Your application can live there. Your teammate's application can live somewhere else. Everyone works peacefully without stepping on each other's toes during that late night production deployment. Then came one of my favorite videos so far, ConfigMaps and Secrets, explained through Bollywood's Dhurandhar. Who gets access to what, who should know the information, and who should not. Turns out application configurations and espionage have more similarities than we expected. If you haven't watched that video yet, go back and check it out. The link is in the description. Honestly, that's one video from this series I would confidently show someone who has never seen Kubernetes before. We then build networking, storage, services, Ingress, Gateway API, Metal LB, everything inside our fictional company, abc.ai. Employees, departments, receptionists, warehouses, delivery routes. You weren't just reading documentation, you were watching a slightly chaotic office story that secretly teaches you production infrastructure. And somewhere along this journey, without any big announcement, Kubernetes stopped looking scary. The commands started making sense, the YAML files started looking familiar, the architecture started connecting. And that is probably the biggest achievement of this journey so far. Now, here's the part where I want you to really pay attention, because this is where the journey gets even more exciting. The first 60% was about building the foundation, understanding why Kubernetes exists, how the pieces connect, and how the whole system thinks. Now, we enter the part where Kubernetes starts behaving like a real production platform. First up, this is something we haven't covered yet. Rolling updates. Consider this your trailer. Remember our pizza store? Imagine the owner changing the entire menu. New recipes, new prices, a completely new experience. But the restaurant never closes. Customers keep coming in, nobody even notices the change happening. That's a rolling update. It's not a shutdown and rebuild approach. It is quietly replacing the old version with the new version while keeping your application available all the time. The restaurant changes while business continues. That's magic. Next comes DNS and scheduling. This is where Kubernetes starts making intelligent decisions behind the scenes. Think about our delivery system. A customer places an order. Now Kubernetes has to decide which delivery hub would handle this. Which node should run this pod? Where should this workload go? This is where core DNS, the scheduler, node selectors, node affinity, taints and tolerations come into picture. And remember, this is not just exam knowledge. This is Kubernetes making placement decisions every single second in real environments. Then we have resource management. Every application wants more resources, more CPU, more memory. But what happens when one application becomes greedy and starts eating everything on the server? Someone has to control that, isn't it? That's where request, limits, HPA, and VPA, which are horizontal pod autoscaler and vertical pod autoscaler, come in. This is the point where Kubernetes stops being just a tool that follows instructions and starts making decisions based on the situation. Next is application configuration. Running an application is just not creating a pod. Real applications need preparations. They need environmental variables, they need configurations files, they need secrets. They need multiple containers working together. They need initialization steps before they can even start. That's where commands, arguments, ConfigMaps Secrets, multi-container pods, and init containers come in. Then comes observability, logging and monitoring. Because creating pods is easy, the real skill is finding that one pod that is quietly causing problems at 3 o'clock in the morning before the entire application goes down. Production Kubernetes is not just about deploying things, it's about knowing what is happening inside your cluster. Then we have cluster maintenance, upgrades, replacing failed nodes, backups and restores, keeping applications running while infrastructure changes underneath. Backups are probably the least exciting topic in this entire series, but they become the most important topic on the day you actually need them. That is when nobody cares how boring the backups were. And then comes the big one, security. This is the section that separates someone who can use Kubernetes from someone people trust to run Kubernetes in production. We will cover hosts, SSH, firewalls, network policies, authentication and authorization, RBAC and ABAC, webhook authorization certificates, service accounts, and LDAP in this section. By the end of this section, you won't just understand how Kubernetes works, you will understand how to protect it. And finally, we will cover Helm and Kustomize, because nobody wants to sit at 11 o'clock in the night manually editing hundreds of YAML files before a production deployment. Real teams use tools that make deployments repeatable, scalable, and manageable. Now, before I end this update, I want to take a moment and genuinely thank everyone who has been a part of this journey. Every single view, every comment, every message saying, finally Kubernetes made sense now. That's the reason this series keeps improving. I don't want this to be just another Kubernetes playlist with hundreds of videos. I want it to be a journey where difficult concepts become simple and where you can look back and say, yes, I actually understand this now. And a special thank to everyone who subscribed. That one click tells me that you are not here for just one video. You are here for the complete journey. And that's what motivates me to keep creating, keep improving, and keep finding better ways to explain the hardest Kubernetes concepts. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being the part of this journey. The best part is still ahead. Remember that thing we talked about in the beginning? Waiting for every signal to turn green before you even start the car? Here's the truth. The hardest part of any journey is always the beginning. Nobody feels nervous on episode 50. Everyone feels nervous on episode 1. That first step is always the toughest, and there is no shortcut around it. You simply start. So if you have been waiting for the perfect time to begin your Kubernetes journey, this is your sign. The foundation is already built. The path is clear. And now comes the part where things start becoming really exciting. Don't wait for every traffic light to turn green. Start driving today. The yellow lights, the turns, and the challenges along the way, that's exactly what this series is here to help you navigate. More than 5,000 learners are already in this journey with me, and every topic connects with the one before it. Starting today means learning Kubernetes the right way, understanding the concepts from the ground up, instead of panic memorizing commands the night before your CKA exam. If you have watched 1 or 2 episodes, go back and start from episode 1. If you haven't started yet, today is the day. Because by the time we complete this series, the goal for you is not just to pass the CKA exam. The goal for you is to understand why Kubernetes works the way it does. And once that understanding clicks, you don't memorize Kubernetes anymore. You simply know it. I'll see you in the next episode. And yes, that tea I mentioned earlier, I'm making it right now after this. You watch the next video when it brews.